One question that I hear asked a lot by sellers or folks who are looking to make some type of move and get good return value from selling their property is, what improvements, upgrades, additions, etc. can I do to my home affordably that will have the highest ROI off that investment into my home and property? So in this video, we are going to go over the 5 most powerful, impactful improvements, updates, additions that you can do to your home to get that highest ROI and get the most money out of your property with the money that you put into it. But real quick, right before we jump into that, once again, I am Noah Cochran, a real estate agent here in Central and Columbia, Missouri, just here to provide as much value, information to folks that are looking to make some type of move, home buying, home selling, home investing, anything like that, just so folks have the most knowledge they can when they're going through this process in any capacity that might be. And again, if you would ever like further information about something, you would ever like to meet, I am always open and willing. I love meeting folks in this area, whether you be looking to relocate here, sell your home here, or just have a general question about the market. I would always love to help. Reach out to me, call me, text me, email me, show up out of nowhere. I would love to be of assistance in any capacity that I can. Now, let's jump into the 5 best improvements that you can do to your home for the highest ROI. Alrighty, number 1, and this one has a massive ROI. I mean, you can make so much money if you will do this. Add a 3rd story to your home with marble balconies, lion statues, and heated floorboards. All right, yes, that was obviously a joke. No, these are pretty common sense in general, and number 1 particularly is one that really comes to people's mind when they think about adding value, having a high return on investment if you're gonna update your home, especially if it's an older home, but that is a kitchen upgrade, update, remodel, etc. Now, this can be extensive, this can be smaller, but regardless, updating your kitchen can actually add a lot of visual value that will directly translate into the value of your home. If you have an older, outdated kitchen, that is just by default going to lose a lot of buyers' interest. A lot of the wives of the people that are going to be searching and looking at your home particular are going to look at that and say, nope, hard pass. Or you're going to have people come in and say, no, we will offer a much lower price so we can then remodel it, and then they can have that return on investment instead of the person like you selling the property. So updating or upgrading your kitchen in some capacity. This could be removing all the cabinets and putting in new ones. That is a very common thing that can add a lot of value. That can, of course, be updating all the appliances, putting in a new tile floor or LVP floor, something like that. Of course, new paint job, updating sheetrock if that needs to be, updating faucets. That's a big one. Nice brand new faucets and sink basins. But what kind of upgrades and things you need to do really just depends on your property and your kitchen. But those are just some of the common ones. Older, outdated floors, older cabinets, older sinks, bad condition appliances, all those things can really decrease the value. However, if you don't have a lot of money to put in, or your kitchen's not too outdated but could use some freshening up, there are very cheap, affordable options you can do just to add a little more spark and pizzazz, you could say, to your kitchen. And you can talk to cabinetry folks on how to update and clean up your cabinets and repair them through sanding, paint jobs, staining, different things like that. And replacing a quick faucet here or there is not too bad. Just getting quick little updates, sheetrock, paint, even a quick update to the floor can be rather affordable depending on the layout of your house. It just all kind of depends. But these are some general things that you can do to your kitchen that will add a ton of value and make home buyers much more interested and willing to offer that price that you would like to sell your home for. And in general, the return on investment on this kitchen remodel can be upwards of 50-60% or higher, can be lower. It really just depends on what you do, how much you do. You don't want to be over the top, but you also want to do enough. So talk to contractors, talk to people in your area that work full-time in remodeling about what would add the most value and get the most out of it. If you're in Columbia, Missouri, you can call me up, email me up. I worked full-time in residential remodeling for a while before I got into real estate. I would love to help counsel and advise if you're looking and wondering about what upgrades or things you should do to your kitchen to get that highest ROI out of it. All right, so number 2, pretty much the same thing as number 1, except for bathrooms. When people walk into a house and they see that old, outdated bathroom with, old toilets, old shower, kind of bad old ceiling, vanities, faucets outdated, especially if there's any type of water damage or yellowing anywhere, that really turns people off to the home. Now, that doesn't mean they're not going to offer in your home. Your home might be great overall. However, this is definitely going to be something they're going to use to decrease their offer price. And if you put just a basic amount of money into replacing the vanity, replacing the toilet, replacing the flooring, maybe just cleaning out the tub, replacing, trim to the shower, trim stuff to the shower, replacing lighting, light fixtures, replacing faucets, of course, vanity tops, that could actually be relatively inexpensive for the amount of value and just shine and bling that you will then add to that bathroom, and thus adding to the property. People will view that as much higher value. Alrighty, so the rest of these are less general remodels for a specific room and more specific details or aspects of your property. And number 3 being windows. Very outdated windows with outdated, just cracking trim work. You know the kind of windows I'm talking about. Again, this is very common in older houses. Maybe it's in your home, you've just grown used to it, but these are things that can really add a lot of value to homes and have a high ROI. Now, I will say, unfortunately, windows are getting more and more expensive to replace. though honestly, everything's getting more and more expensive to replace these days. Now, you probably don't want to do this if your windows are just slightly outdated. At that point, it's really not worth your time or money. You're not going to get high ROI off that. But if your home has very outdated windows, it's that older style of home, has some older windows in it, replacing the windows can add a lot of value, and you can get upwards of 60-70% ROI off whatever money you put into that. And another thing you just have to remember with this is that not only will things like this, windows, remodels, whatever it may be, add good ROI to your property, make you money, but also it will make your property sell faster, which is kind of a big deal in today's market, especially if you're in the higher price ranges, as I've talked in other videos. If you're above that 400K mark already, above that 350K mark, but there's just certain aspects of probably your nice in general large home, maybe the windows are old, like in this point, but things like this can just make the home sell a lot faster because people aren't going to walk in and say, oh, this is just outdated. They take weeks to actually write up an offer that turns out being much below list price. Now, obviously, this is all in general. I can't speak for your home or area specifically. Your home might be outdated in 6 ways, but the market in that specific neighborhood could be super, super hot, meaning these updates aren't even necessary. Like, it could sell like that in the first week. Now, that's very rare in Columbia market in general. Homes are not selling like that whatsoever unless they're in the lower price ranges. And if they're in the lower price ranges, updates like this don't matter near as much. People are willing to deal with the low quality kitchen, bathroom, outdated windows, even some cracks in windows. I've been seeing a lot in the under 300K price range. If folks are buying in that, they kind of understand for the money they're paying, that's the value they get. But in those higher price ranges, you can get a good high ROI off these different upgrades. And getting into number 4, that is garage doors or exterior front doors. So this is really one I hadn't thought too much about, but in doing some research for this video, I was coming across this again and again. And garage doors, surprisingly, can have a very high ROI. Now, obviously, if your garage door is just somewhat outdated and works fine, but it's just a little kind of rough, maybe replacing it, not the best idea. But if your garage door has extensive damage, looks pretty bad, or it's just very old and outdated, replacing it can really have a high ROI. In my research, I was finding people were having upwards of 80% ROI. Now, obviously, this isn't some huge payout paycheck because garage doors in the first place aren't terribly expensive to replace in general. But just doing a simple garage door replacement, if your garage door is pretty outdated, could really make you a few more grand, several more grand, depending on different values and scenarios, of course, but could really be a good investment for you. Front doors are the same way. If someone walks up to the house, especially if it's again in that higher price range, and your front door, super outdated, trim's falling apart, if there's any rotting in the wood whatsoever, that is really going to stand out to folks. And if you just do a quick replace of that front door, especially if you're also replacing the front windows, that's going to add a lot more bling to the front of the house. And if there's any maybe trim, paint job, siding work that needs to be done around that too, I'd recommend doing that as well. Just so when they walk up to that house, they see this is fresh, this is new, this stands out. Even though maybe this house is 30 years old and quite large, and I was expecting outdated, we see freshness and up-to-dateness and not rotting wood, right? But just to finish out with number 5, this is a very common sense one. Everybody already knows this, but if you happen to have any type of unfinished area, especially in a basement, that's what's typical, finishing that out and adding finished square footage to your home can add a lot of value. Now, this does not have to be really blinged out finished area. All you got to do if you have an unfinished basement, hang sheetrock, you might have to do some woodworking. It depends what your unfinished basement is like, but put on sheetrock, have a good sheetrocker come on, do a good sheetrock job, get it painted, put in good flooring. LVP is very popular, but if it is a basement, you could also lay nice carpet, LVP or nice carpet, good paint job, good sheetrock, good trim work. That's literally all you need. Now, if you have different, maybe unique aspects to your basement, there are different things you can do. If there's a bathroom down there or a capacity for a third bathroom, that's definitely something that would add a lot of value, just putting in a new bathroom. But if it's just open, empty space, just finishing that out with quick sheetrock, quick flooring, quick trim work, quick paint, boom, looks awesome. Put in some good light fixtures. If you have to have an electrician come in to run new wiring, that's definitely worth it. But just finishing out that basement will really add some nice finished square footage to your home and can actually have some of the highest ROI above really any of these things, except for maybe updating your kitchen. Alrighty, so those are the 5 things I want to go over. This question gets asked a lot because for good reason, folks are wanting to get the most money, the most value out of selling their home. They want their home to sell as fast and efficiently as possible, but they also want that money, whatever money they put in, to return good to them and return with 50% return on investment if possible, or whatever it may be. Just get really good value out of whatever money they put to work in their property. But again, it all depends on your specific home, on your specific area. So call up an expert. Call me up if you're in Columbia, if you're in Central Missouri. I would love to at least give verbal assistance, or if you would like me to come out and look at your home and talk over these different things, I would always love to help. Comment below if you have any things, if you've worked in remodeling or know a lot about do-it-yourself fixer-uppers. Leave in the comments below kind of your ideas, things that you've seen specifically add a lot of return on investment by doing to your home before you sell. But until next time, folks, happy remodeling, and you'll have a good one.